Welcome to The Backstory. I'm Robert. I'm here with Chad and Hillary Blake. Chad is our executive pastor. Hillary does all sorts of things behind the scenes that we never know about, but
it's secret.
You make us look good. That's what I'll say. So tell me about how you guys met.
Oh, me.
You get to go first. Ladies first.
Well, we are college sweethearts. We met in college, and Chad says he saw me from afar and that it was one of the defining moments of his life.
Did lightning strike your brain?
I mean, yeah. So he then did everything he could to meet me, and we first became kind of friends, like fancy friends, and I don't know.
Could you define fancy friends?
Well, fancy friends in that, like, we both kind of took a liking to each other immediately, and yeah, the rest is history.
Well, that's the short version. Okay, I thought you were going to give the long version. I mean, so we were at Disneyland, which you'll love,
Nice.
and we were early at school because it was like a leadership training thing, and I was sitting on the tram from Mickey and Friends to downtown Disney, and I was about 8 rows back, and I look up ahead of me, and I'm sitting next to one of my friends, and I go, "Who is that? And is she with us?" And they said, "Oh yeah, that's Hillary." I was like, how have I not met her? And so I did do everything in my power. However, Hillary played it cool, and she's like, "Hey Chad, I know you play guitar. Can you teach me how to play guitar?"
Oh, yeah.
Which was a complete ploy, and she knows nothing on guitar, but she just wanted to hang out. So little does she know she could have asked me to do anything, and I would have done it. So
yeah.
That's very cool. So often pastors are known for being organized and polished, or at least perceived to be that. Would you say that's true in this case? And then the second half of this question being, who's the more organized of the two of you in your house?
Well, I can answer the second half first, which is for sure Hillary.
I had a hunch.
100%.
I am an interesting walking dynamic. I don't know. I am very organized digitally. I am very organized in my brain, but paper is a disaster for me.
Clutter.
I have paper I just do not handle well, and my desk is constantly loaded with paper and all sorts of things. I can generally, I blame my dad. My dad's an attorney, and if you walked into his office, that's exactly what his desk looks like. But I can generally know where everything is, but I would not say I'm organized in the traditional sense. So, but Hillary is...
I think I'm hyper organized. In fact, I probably need to be on some sort of medication for it. I think I'm OCD.
I think
clinically.
You're an inspiration for most of us,
Thank
to be
you.
completely honest.
Thank
It's
you.
like, maybe someday we could be like that, but
Hey, we all have our strengths.
We can all wish, right? So you guys have been really in the core part of the resurgence of Shepherd's Grove the last few years. What's been the most encouraging and exciting things for you to see as we've been going through this process?
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things for me has been just the generations that can bless one another. So often you see churches who appeal to a certain demographic, and with our church, we have generations spanning, the whole range.
100 years.
It's spanning 100 years, yeah, exactly. And it's been cool to see how the older generations can bless the younger generations and how the younger generations can serve the older generations and honor them. And I think that's been a really cool aspect of seeing this resurgence at Shepherd's Grove.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's neat to be part of a church that said, no, we're not going to die. And what I mean by that is, most people who are probably watching this know the history of the Crystal Cathedral and the tragic story that happened. And, Bobby and I and Hillary and Robert, we all came into the picture after, those incidents. And this church said, no, there's something here. And, it's been growing, and it's been bringing new life to this congregation, and the congregation is thrilled to be here on Sundays, our midweek things, and that's fun to be a part of. A church that said, "No, we're not done yet. In fact, we're going to be a world-changing ministry and continue to be one." So, it's really neat to be a part of something like that.
So speaking about life and vibrancy, you have a dog named Pippin at home.
Oh, yes.
Who I believe is around 7 years old or something.
Yes.
Talk about Pippin. How did he get his name? What's he like?
I will probably be embarrassed if I talk about this. So
Even better.
Okay, all right. Well, we adopted him, and actually his name already was Pippin because his mom's name was Apple, and so the entire litter was named after various apples. I did not know Pippin was a form of an apple.
I just learned this.
But apparently it's a very famous apple for apple pies. I was like, well, we could have gotten like Macintosh or, Fuji, Red Delicious, but we got Pippin. Yeah, I'm probably a little enmeshed with him. He's an interesting dog. He's got me wrapped around his paw. But one of the funniest stories that I think you'll appreciate is we live in Old Town Orange, which is a very walkable town. And I'm walking him one day, and there's this Greenpeace gal across the circle, the traffic circle. And from across, I have a very unusual looking dog. Like, he stands out. He's got a little beard. And he's got a little trot.
He's got lots of personality.
Yeah, people notice him. I get stopped on every walk, but from across the traffic circle, this girl yells at me and goes, "Oh my gosh, can I pet your dog?" I'm thinking, okay, crazy, sure, yeah, absolutely. So I continue walking up to her, and she's like, reaches down, she pets him, and she goes, "What's his name?" And I'm like, "Oh, Pippin." And she goes, "No." And she reaches into her little knapsack and she pulls out like a little flute and starts playing the Lord of the Rings theme song because she thought he was named Pippin after the Lord of the Rings character. And I didn't have the heart to inform her.
It was a special moment.
I've never forgot it.
Yeah. She performed the whole song.
Sometimes the ignorance is the better thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So final question is always my favorite one, and it's always the most random one, and it definitely is going to Hillary.
Okay.
This is your moment to embarrass Chad.
Ooh, yay.
So I want to hear an embarrassing story about Chad.
Well, one that comes to mind is
There was no hesitation, by the way.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot to choose from.
My brain just circling, oh man, which one could it be?
Uh-oh. The roulette wheel is turning. Our first Valentine's Day, Chad the day before had gotten some dental work done, and
He's waiting.
yeah, okay. So the laser had he had an allergic reaction to it or something. He woke up the next morning. His lips, I swear, it was like a banana and then another banana.
I looked like
it
Hitch,
was like
Will Smith from Hitch.
Yeah,
It was bad.
it was like a cartoon.
Our first Valentine's.
And he was devastated. Like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? He had everything. Hey, this is my story.
Sorry.
He had everything planned out, like super romantic evening, and he had these bubble lips. And so he called me and he's like, I'm so embarrassed. I don't know what to do. And then he's like, I'm going to rally though. We're going to go out. And so we go to this lovely restaurant, and he orders this steak that has a peppercorn sauce, not really realizing my lips are super sensitive right now. And he starts eating, and it starts burning, and it was a total
every bite was painful.
a total train wreck. But he was such a trooper, and I have no sympathy. I just started I was laughing all night. I was just laughing. And we did one little delicate kiss at the end. And he's like, "Ow," and that was our romantic first Valentine's Day.
Something worked, apparently.
Hey,
Exactly.
that's life.
Well, thank you guys so much for being on the backstory. And you guys are going through a journey as you're trying to conceive a baby. So if you guys would like to read more about that and follow along that journey, go to chadandhillary.com. Mm-hmm. You can also support them there. And then watch Hour of Power this week, too, and you'll hear more about that story. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Robert.
You bet.